Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the first video in our series of videos that you'll be doing for homework throughout this class to learn some of the basic terminologies and some of the concepts in video lecture form. And so we're going to do just section 1 of chapter 1 kind of as a warm-up here, get you kind of comfortable and moving in the right direction. So let's get into that. So in section 1 there's really two concepts at work here that we want to focus on. And the terms that go along with those are really important, and they'll be used throughout the rest of this whole course. You see the term solar capital right here, natural resources and natural services, which come together to create something called natural capital. Those are some important terms that you need to be aware of as we're moving forward, and we're going to discuss what those terms mean. If you look down here in part B of this, you'll see the word sustainability. The whole foundation of this textbook is really about the idea of living a sustainable life. What is sustainability? And so we're going to talk about that as we move forward here as well. Okay? And then this idea of natural income. These are important ideas, important concepts, and so as we move forward, we're going to focus on these terms so we better understand them. This particular section or chapter of the book starts by having a conversation of what is environmental science? What is this term right here that we're talking about when we're talking about environmental science? And so it's important for us to understand that this class is all about learning and studying how the earth works, how it functions, some of the basic ideas there. But more importantly than that, it's this piece that matters. When we talk about how we interact with that earth and how we deal with the problems that a lot of times we create on this planet. What are we going to do to solve them? How are we going to go about fixing them? And so when it comes to environmental science, this book really focuses on 5 main goals. We've got to know how nature works. We got to know how the environment affects us. We got to know how we affect the environment. How do we deal with environmental problems if we create them, or sometimes they naturally occur? And then last but not least, how do we live sustainably on the planet? And that's what this whole year is going to be about, the conversation of those 5 basic ideas. So sustainability, what is it? Well, it's the idea, basically, that we don't exploit our earth. We use things from the earth, which we have to do to function, but we use them in a way that we don't degrade the resource. We don't overuse the resource and eventually run out of those kind of things. And when we're talking about sustainability, there's really a series of ideas that we have to focus on it in this concept of sustainability. First and foremost, we always have to keep society in mind. Society is an essential part of the human condition, and so we live within the confines of that, and so social parameters really play a role in how we make decisions about environment and us. Of course, the environment matters. It is where we pull our resources from to create the society we live in, and how we function within that. And the last piece of that is the economics piece. Whether you're a fan of money or not, money drives how we live our lives on a daily basis. So these 3 major components are the things that we have to balance when we're talking about the environment, how we deal with it, and then what money can be made from it, the essence of living. Where all 3 of these converge is where sustainability occurs. Okay? The idea that sustainability takes into account money making and the economics of things. It takes into account the environment and taking care of it, and it takes into account society and how we live our lives. Okay, so when we talk about natural capital is broken into 2 major things: natural resources and natural services. Okay, natural capital is the stuff that the earth provides us that we can utilize. And that comes in the form of those resources and those services. Resources are like the stuff we get from the earth. So it could be an energy resource like coal or oil or natural gas. It could be materialistic stuff like water or gold or silver, those kind of ideas. So it's an actual essential component of what humans use on the planet. The other part of natural capital comes in the form of services. These are things that the earth does for us. It recycles water through the water cycle. It cleans the air. So what processes the earth does, the functioning of the earth and its living essence, are the services that the earth provides. And these two things come together to provide us with our natural capital. Most of those are generated, created, or pushed forth by using solar capital, the energy that the sun provides us. So it starts as solar capital, it comes down, and it turns into, usually in one form or another, into natural services or natural resources, both in long-term, short-term situations. So those terms are important and they matter, and we need to focus on those. When we're talking about environmentally sustainable societies, how do we create a place where we can coexist with the earth, in a nutshell? So how can we meet the basic needs of people in a just and equitable way, right? That's what the essence of that process is. And so what the earth provides us is it provides us with natural capital. Okay? Quite often, when we exist on this planet, either intentionally or unintentionally, we usually historically have created a degradation in that natural capital. Example down here, we have a forest and then we start cutting down those trees. That's cutting into that natural capital. It's taking away from it. And so what we do is we usually come up with solutions to try to solve that problem, to fix the problem that we're overcutting. All of those solutions that we choose one way or another have trade-offs involved with them, good and bad things that come, and we have to choose which one of those is more important. And it's important when we're making those decisions to know that individuals matter. The voice of each person involved has weight, and that weight can affect overall change. So in this book, the idea of living sustainably really comes down to this key idea right here, okay? This key idea right in front of us, that we want to protect the capital. So we don't want to take away from the earth faster than it can replenish itself. Is it all right to cut down trees? It's absolutely necessary to cut down trees. We need trees for all kinds of different things, from fuel sources, we need them for housing, all of that kind of stuff. But are we cutting down at a rate where the earth can't regrow them? Or are we cutting them down at a rate where the earth can regrow them? And that difference there is the difference between leaving capital in place or eating into the capital. And the analogy in your book really comes down to this idea of a lottery winner. If I win the lottery and I win $1 million, that $1 million is my capital, and so I can invest that money. If I invest that money, I'm going to get interest back on it. It's going to give me a little bit every year. If I only spend the interest and I never touch that main chunk of lottery money, that interest will last my entire life, because I'll keep getting the interest year after year and I'll never touch that main chunk of money that came out. That's the same idea that they want you to use with the environment. Give what the environment will provide us on a routine basis, and don't take more than that extra it can reboot itself with. The second we start taking extra, we start taking away from the capital, we start tearing into the lottery initial $1 million I made, we start degrading that capital and we start hurting ourselves in the long run. So first basic idea of this whole book is understanding sustainability. It's understanding natural capital and how to maintain it in a way that works for both society, economics, and the environment. And so there's some key terms in there. Please review those so you feel comfortable and you know those.